that it's recording now. So we will go ahead and get started. Well, hello, Elon parents and families. Thank you so much for coming to our Phoenix Families live webinar. My name is Robin Lane Jimenez, and I am the Assistant Director of Parent Engagement here at Elon University. Today, we are lucky enough to be joined by several staff members from Elon's Isabella Cannon Global Education Center, which we also call the GEC, if you hear that. And they will be sharing some more information about the short-term study away options available for students. So I have the pleasure of introducing Gia Panetta, our Director of Short-Term Programs, Ashley Lynch, the Business Manager at the GEC, and Tyler Favali, Coordinator of Short-Term Programs, along with Allegra Lang, our Executive Director of Global Programming. So I will turn it over to Gia. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much, Robin. We really appreciate you having this time for us to speak to everyone today, and thank you to everyone who's joining us here. We're excited to talk a little bit about winter term and all the options we have here at Elon for your student to do a study away program. So, without further ado, Robin mentioned briefly the team here at the Global Education Center. So this is all of us. We're just a small piece of a larger part of a team that supports program planning throughout the year. There's a lot of folks on the back end that make these things possible. So there's a little bit of us. So here's what we plan on covering today. We'll talk through what winter term programming looks like. So academics and upcoming registration in April, logistics like housing and flights, financial considerations, very important, and health and safety. We'll also share how you can help support your student through this experience from beginning to end and leave some time at the end for questions. And as the discussion is happening today, please feel free to add your questions down in the chat. Our team is here to answer some of those as well as answer them at the end of the program as well.
And sorry to interrupt you really quick, Gia, but if you're not seeing that Q&A feature, I do think that Zoom recently had an update. So if you go to those three dots that says more, you should find the Q&A. So in case you have any questions, feel free to pop them in there.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin. Okie dokie. So, what exactly is a winter term program? So, winter term programs are 3-week Elon faculty-led academic programs that take place during our January term. So, students travel alongside their group, which is usually around 20 to 30 Elon students and 2 Elon faculty, and they're all supported by our in-country or our in-country partners. So, what makes these programs unique is that they combine coursework with cultural immersion. Students are learning through their experiences on the ground, not just in a classroom. And Tyler very thankfully just dropped in the chat a link to our website, which has our current offerings for 2027. So, feel free to take a peek as we move along through today's discussion. So, what does a day actually look like on a winter term program? So, most days include guided visits, cultural activities, and excursions that are tied to the course. And evenings may or may not include group dinners, reflection, or some free time. A typical day can look incredibly different program by program, but it can also vary throughout a single program. So each day is going to look very different on the ground. Some days you can be up super early in the morning to go hiking, in New Zealand, or others you can be spending your late night at the opera in Austria, both of which are options for this year. But in general, it's just important to note that most of these programs, daily schedules are highly structured. So that being said, we are mindful of building time in for students to enjoy free time on their own, but most of the day is doing a lot of the experiential learning that's important to the course. Faculty and staff are present throughout, so students always have support on the ground as well. So academics. Winter term study away programs are designed so that students earn credits toward their degrees, of course. Each winter term course has a mandatory 1 credit fall preparatory seminar. So that's where they learn, important parts and pieces in advance to what they'll be studying on the ground in January as they're traveling. The January course itself is actually 4 credits, so in total, students receive 5 credits. Programs are often meant to fulfill core curriculum requirements. So you'll see with the link that Tyler shared that many of these fulfill society, civilization, or expression credits, but some can fulfill electives towards certain majors or minors or advanced studies. It really depends. But both the prep seminar and the winter term course must be taken for credit and count towards your student's GPA. So these cannot be taken pass fail. And very important note that students must pass the preparatory seminar in order to go on the winter term course in January. So registration, believe it or not, registration for winter term 2027 programs start in technically just a few for their fall courses on OnTract. If they want to register for a winter term study away program, they'll need to register for the fall preparatory course that's associated with the program that they want to go on. So that's the 1 credit course. Students can only enroll in one program at a time and waitlist one other program. So these enrollment limits are mindfully creative to keep programs accessible for students and also to encourage them to be really thoughtful when thinking about which programs they want to do, which program they want to participate in. So often waitlists see movement throughout the summer until the start of the fall semester. So if your student is waitlist, we really encourage them to check their email regularly. If they're offered a spot, the registrar's office will send them an email notifying them and giving them 24 hours to accept that position. And that's like any other class that's taken on course on campus as well. So drop ad ends September 1st, and these winter term courses will close at that time. And just a quick note that one of the requirements for winter term programs is that students have a 2.0 GPA. So students, when they are registering, needs to have a 2.0 GPA in order to um, be admitted into a preparatory seminar. But also, just a quick note that if a student has a past balance due from the spring, they're going to be blocked from registration. So folks should work before in advance to ensure everything possible so that students can go through the registration process smoothly. Transitioning into the next part of our discussion, travel and logistics. This is often where families have the most questions, so happy to talk through some of these today. Housing. So students stay in a range of accommodations. So that can look like apartments, hotels, hostels, and homestays. Most commonly, though, they're going to be staying in a double or triple hotel room with 1 to 2 other students. Rooming is coordinated during the fall course. So this really varies by program and by program leader, but oftentimes they will give students a few classes to get to know each other, and folks will talk amongst themselves and decide who they'd like to room with. So there's time for folks to sort of meet and learn about each other before making that call. If your student has housing accommodations that are filed at Elon, these aren't automatically guaranteed, but we really do our best to honor these accommodations. And on that sort of note, in order to give us the most time and ability to research into those options, we really encourage students to make sure that their accommodations are documented and on file with our office, and on our My Elon Global portal by September 1st. Um, Students can also start looking at this in advance. So they can start looking into tentative program itineraries, housing, and activity levels now. These are all on our website and each specific program page's website. They know which programs have the more unique housing. So again, for winter term, hotels are going to be the most common, but a very small number of programs do have homestays, and one for the courageous travelers that want to stay intense and do some intense hiking, we have those options as well. Um, and sort of on that note, some programs also have more physically rigorous activity with hiking at high elevations and biking, etc. But if students have any questions or concerns, they are more than welcome to reach out to our office to discuss this at any time. moving on to flights. Flight arrangements vary by program. So some programs include round trip international group flights, while others allow students to book their flights independently. But don't worry about either model and what those sort of look like. We provide very clear guidance in advance about which one applies to your students and walk them through the next steps. So I'll give a brief overview today about what that kind of looks like, but I just want to share here that students and families should also wait for the official guidance from our office and from our program leaders before going ahead with booking flights. But so, for example, if you are on a group flight, group flights and the cost of group flights are included in the program fee. Students and leaders travel together as a group and likely departing and returning from a major US hub airport. So, usually RDU, Atlanta, JFK, um, Dulles, Washington Dulles is also a major one. For programs leaving from a North Carolina-based airport, so RDU, Greensboro, or Charlotte, groups will likely leave from campus together on an Elon chartered bus, or they can meet at the airport. Students are expected to travel with the group on these programs, so they are allowed to deviate from an established flight plan if they have a very specific case that warrants it. So in early fall, we're going to release a deviation request form. So that's where students can submit their situation and for consideration. And our office and the faculty leaders discuss the situation together. And we decide whether or not that makes sense for the group flight or for the group plan moving forward. So just note that submission doesn't guarantee approval, but it's good to sort of be thinking about this in advance as students are registering as well. So for programs without a group flight, students book their own flights that best fit their needs and arrive and depart from the set program dates independently. So for students and families who would like a more supported flight option, we're going to share a recommended flight plan. That's likely going to be the flight of one of the program leaders will be, and they'll likely be taking that from a North Carolina-based airport. And then we'll also share a time block for students to arrive and depart from the program for those who aren't taking that recommended group flight and coming from their preferred home airports. For those students who do arrive within that time block, we'll have airport transports arranged for them. For student safety as well as academic reasons, students will need to stay with the group throughout the program's official travel dates. They can travel before or after the program, but not independently during it. So, on that note, students on programs that have the group flights should kind of be mindful of any flight deviation requests they may need. So, for example, if you and your family decide that you'd like to travel before the program starts, make sure to fill out that deviation request so that we can be processing and thinking through these things earlier. And then also, any family travel should really be arranged before or after the program so that students can really fully participate in the winter term experience. So, as far as documentation goes, unless students are on a domestic program, US citizens will need a passport to travel on most of these programs. Passports for US citizens should be valid for at least 6 months after the students return. So, we estimate that as needing to go through August 1st of 2028. So, um, please start checking. We recommend checking that your student's passport is valid now and also get that process rolling in case they do not have a passport currently. Um, and then as far as visas go, a number of our programs actually do require students to obtain a visa or sort of an electronic authorization to travel. Information about any of that documentation needed will be shared in advance with students during the fall preparatory course. Guidance will be provided, but also it is the responsibility of the student to ensure that they've confirmed any requirements for their travel destinations. And this is particularly important for international students to confirm. So students can definitely reach out to our office. We are mindful of thinking about this documentation and making sure that students have it. But if there are any questions about students' eligibility or whether or not they need to complete certain things and forms, please, feel free to reach out to us as well. So I'm going to pass along this very fun topic of financials over to our business manager, Ashley Lynch.
All right, great. Thank you, Gia. All right, so we'll talk about program costs. So the program costs can vary by location, also the length and what travel is included, as well as meals. The estimated program fee ranges they can be found on the website that Tyler shared earlier. Some of them are not quite posted yet, but it will give you a program fee range, and we'll continue to post those throughout the spring. The final program costs, they're going to be confirmed over the summer, so just keep an eye out for those, and then we will definitely notify the students once the pricing is finalized for their particular program. All right, so what you'll see, we will post a sheet here within the next month or two once the prices are finalized. But what you'll see is you'll see a billable versus a non-billable cost. These kind of run in line with what we do for the semesters. For billable, that is what you're going to pay for your student directly to Elon. So that includes the housing piece, the academic instruction, any travel and admission to program activities. It also includes international health insurance. So it's international medical and travel insurance for your student. It will also include airfare for programs that have group flights and or in-program flights. And then meals, obviously, it's going to vary by program. The non-billable piece is what we kind of estimate that you would pay out of pocket, so not paid to Elon. It'd be that could be airfare for programs without group flights, any passport or visa related cost if it's required for that particular program, and then obviously spending money. So that's going to be discretionary based on the student. So the souvenirs that they get, any kind of independent activities they have, that's spending money, and then meals, any kind of extra meals outside of what the program may provide. So that's going to be kind of the breakdown of your billable versus non-billable cost whenever that final program pricing is posted out there for you guys. All right, so some key deadlines and withdrawals. In order for a student to not have any kind of penalty, as far as the financial penalty goes, the student would need to withdraw on or before September 1st. So this kind of runs in line with drop ad as well. So making sure that you guys keep an eye on the withdrawal deadlines as well as your student. These are very important. So again, on or before September 1st, there's no penalty to withdraw, financial penalty. Starting September 2nd, 25% of program cost, September 15th, 50%, and then October 1st, obviously the full program cost. Winter bills will be posted to the student accounts in September and they are due in October. One note I do want to mention is that if, as Gia had mentioned, registration opens mid to late April for these pre-departure seminars. If a student has a past due balance from a previous term, so in this instance it would be spring. So if a student has currently a past due balance for this spring term that we're in right now, a student will not be able to register for this pre-departure seminar. So we want to make sure any past due balances are taken care of so that your student is able to go ahead and get registered in their prep seminar course. All right, obviously you've got funding opportunities for winter term, much like you would for the semester. There's travel grants, global scholarships, loans, etc. If you work with the financial aid office, every student's case is specific, so we ask that you work directly with the financial aid office to determine what works for your student. We mentioned travel grants and global scholarships. So there's the engagement grant that is through the Office of Academic Advising. Students will typically have that applied for their winter term program. There's also various fellows grants, whether it's the leadership fellows, different fellow groups out there that you can reach out to the director of that particular program and get those applied to the cost of the program. And then the GEC offers an Elon Global Scholarship, and this is awarded to students with demonstrated financial need. So they would have to have a FAFSA, current FAFSA on file, or a CSS profile. for the current upcoming academic year, so 26-27. And what we'll do is we'll get that information from the financial aid office, and we'll determine the amount of the scholarship. This has to be their first study away experience in order for them to be able to qualify for the scholarship, and then they must demonstrate need. So just wanted to make you guys aware of those particular funding opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
Okay, so health, safety, and support. So student safety is our top support. This is why I'm in the field. This is incredibly important to me, making sure that all students feel safe on their programs. We provide international travel and health insurance through our partners at iNext, as well as 24/7 mental health support through our app, the TELUS Telehealth app. Our team is thinking about this. It is working 24/7 throughout the month of January to make sure students and faculty leaders and our partners on the ground have everything they need and support from us here at Elon. Our team in the GEC includes all of those people. So everyone across the world, as well as folks here. And all of us follow emergency response protocols from, individual student specific cases up to global emergencies. And throughout the year, we monitor through the Department of State, OSAC, and CDC advisories. We regularly and routinely look at our programs, where they're going to, and keep certain things on our radar as things sort of progress. So rest assured that we are thinking about student safety, and they have the group, but also students are never navigating these situations alone. And that's really one of the greatest benefits I find to winter term programming and the short term programming here at Elon. It's one of our highest levels of, student comfort and support, I would say. So, in line with student safety, we do expect students to behave in accordance with Elon's code of conduct and local laws, for the safety of themselves and others on the program. In the lead up to winter term, students should continue to act appropriately on campus as well. So, students placed on any sort of disciplinary probation or suspension are not eligible to participate in a travel program, and they forfeit any payment made towards it. So any conduct or legal violations on the program can also result in dismissal at the student's expense. So let's keep things safe and respectful on programs. I'm sure all of your students here today, or the students of you folks here today, are not going to be in this group. But it's not a bad idea to remind them in the fall semester to make sure that they're being careful and being smart and making good choices. Um, as far as, as we're sort of wrapping up, thinking about how to prepare your specific student, let's think about ways that you can help prepare. So today's April 6th, and we are almost a week out from the start of fall registration. Encourage your students to review the winter term 2027 program options. So they've received emails. We have lots and lots of QR codes throughout campus, but definitely help them consider programs that fit their specific needs, whether that's academic and personal. There's lots of different factors to consider when making such a major choice as a winter term program. So help them and encourage them to look into the options that are available to them. Help them also stay on track and organized with deadlines in preparing documents. So that could mean after registration, gathering important documents that they might need in order to apply or renew their passport if needed. That's a really valuable way to use time in the early summer. And then most importantly, please help us help us help you by reminding them to regularly check their Elon emails and review information that comes from our office and from program leaders as well. During the summer, we send a good number of emails. So, for example, as Ashley was speaking to, we'll send information about billing and final program costs, hopefully by early summer. But also we will send a student handbook, which has some of the main information that we spoke throughout today about. So we'll be sending information about the flight models, the recommended flight paths. The student handbook is going to include preliminary information about visas. So for example, we do kind of know the programs that require a visa for entry or any sort of a vaccination for entry in advance. So just remind them to keep an eye on those and to make sure that they're taking a thorough time to look and read and review through things. Um, and yeah, that's I know there's been a lot of information, and we went through it sort of quickly. That's my one downfall. Um, as a speaker, as I've said I'm a chipette before. But we have some time here, a good amount of time here. And hopefully we've given you a clear picture of what winter term sort of looks like. We know that, studying abroad, even for like 2 to 3 weeks, can come with a lot of questions. So definitely happy to take some time now to talk through those questions and yeah, and think through some of those things together.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Gia and Ashley, for the information. And as Gia said, we will go ahead and move into some live Q&A. So if you have questions, go ahead and feel free to find that Q&A feature and pop them on in there. Hopefully we'll have time to address all of your questions. So we'll start off with, do you know if this trip is covered by 529 funding?
Actually, hop in if you have additional things to note. But yes, there are students who use 529 funding for the program. Usually you can reach out to us and we'll send a sort of breakdown of what's needed to file for a 529.
Yeah, that's correct. So we can provide you a copy of a breakdown of what, if that program includes the international airfare piece, what that amount is, international health insurance, tuition fees, and room and board. That's typically how the breakdown goes. And then you'll use that to provide to the group that you're working with for that 529.
Fantastic. And I know that there was another question kind of similar about specific GEC scholarships and if they're automatically applied. I know that question was answered, but do we want to just touch on that really briefly live here?
Sure. So, for the Elon Global Scholarship, that one's applied once. Bills are gone out. Typically, with all of these scholarships, they're posted about 10 days after they'll be posted as a pending credit or pending aid on the student's account about 10 days after bills are posted. And then the rule is it's more of a financial aid type rule. They will be credited to the account about 10 days prior to departure. So, but in order to have all these set up, the Elon Global Scholarship, it'll go automatically once your student is awarded. After 10 days of it being posted, it'll be applied to the student account. For your engagement grants, those are through or an Elon Experience grant. Those are through the Office of Academic Advising. So they do have a form. If you Google Elon Engagement Grant or Experiences Grant, you will come across a website for academic advising, and basically it'll have a form that that student has to fill out in order to have that grant applied. So that's that one. And then if they're in any sort of fellows cohort, they'll want to speak directly to the director of that cohort. And that's another thing you can Google really quickly, Elon Fellows group. And then it'll take them to the website and probably provide them a contact that they would need to reach out to in order to get applied.
Fantastic. Thanks for touching on that as well, Ashley. So yes, several options when it comes to applying various types of funding to these experiences. Next question would be, have you ever encountered any issues with students bringing medications that they typically take or prescriptions that they take on these trips, specifically like more controlled substances for various concerns, illnesses?
That's a good question. It is something that we encourage folks to think about really early in the selection process and throughout the summer. So ADHD meds in particular are ones that, are very common, and there are some locations that students really do need to be thinking about whether or not they can bring them in advance. So with a good majority of locations that we're traveling to, most just require documentation, a doctor's note, as well as being really mindful about the amount of medication that you're carrying into the country. So that can mean bringing the exact amount of medication needed alongside that doctor's note. But in some cases, there are a few countries off the top of my head. I know Japan and I think Poland have more strict carrying laws and entering to the countries. So it's something that we encourage folks to talk with their physicians in advance. In some cases, there's not necessarily additional support that can be done. It's a law, but we do think that there are ways that folks can discuss that with their healthcare team, and see if there are ways to sort of navigate foregoing medication for a small amount of time or transitioning to a different medication throughout the program. And that is a long kind of conversation that we definitely suggest starting early. So yeah.
Great recommendation. Definitely talk to your primaries about any concerns you might have pretty far in advance. All right. Can you please review again the order of registering for the winter program and getting accepted versus registering for the fall one credit class?
Yes, of course. So each winter term program has that one credit fall class. And essentially, what your student will do is during their fall registration, they'll register for that one credit class that's associated with their specific winter term program that they're interested in. So on that main website, that main web page that we sent earlier, it'll actually say what the winter term program class is, but also give the code for the prerequisite course. And usually that is just the 1000 level of that course. So for example, if it's GBL Global 2050, the preparatory seminar is going to be GBL 1050. So what a student will do is go onto their on track on the time that their registration slot opens, enroll in that course, and that essentially puts them into the winter term. So they need to make sure that they press the button and that they're fully in the course, or on the wait list. And if they are enrolled in the course, we'll send a follow-up email sometime in May with information, a link to our global portal. So it's called our My Elon Global Portal, where we'll have some additional notes and things for students to fill out, but it's not an application by any means. Enrolling yourself in the fall credit course is what places you into the program, which is also why throughout the summer, to the point about wait lists that we were speaking about earlier, students should definitely be looking at their email because there's a lot of movement that happens throughout the summer and throughout registration because it's students can be flexible right now up until September with sort of planning for their winter terms.
Great. And just to reiterate really quickly, the small detail of like knowing which class to register for that prerequisite one credit class. Can you just reiterate
Yeah.
how they figure out which class it is?
Yeah, so if they head to the website, each winter term program has an associated one credit course. So it's typically going to be the 1000 level of that 2000 level course. But that's all sort of listed there. Also, if your student is on track, they can toggle for, fall 2026 courses and global education center courses, and they'll see all of them there as well. So there are a couple of different paths to finding the exact one, but it's typically going to be just the lower level version.
Perfect. And matching that same course ID number. So just be careful during that registration process for your students. All right. Are some of the programs more competitive than others?
I would say that some are. It really varies by year. Some programs are offered every year, some programs are offered every other year, and then some new programs come to the fold each year. So it's hard to have a good idea of what programs are going to be more popular given the specific year. But we do encourage students to have a number, like a small number of programs that they might want to note that they're interested in, because there are the occasionally some years where a program can be more competitive than others. One thing to sort of note is that during the registration process, especially if you have a student who is, a rising sophomore, they'll see throughout registration. So when seniors get access to their registration time, and then when juniors get access to their registration time, you'll kind of note on OnTrack. It'll show you how many seats are available, how many seats are left, and then what the wait list is currently looking like if there is a wait list. So students can kind of start gauging pretty early on in the registration process which programs are looking a bit more competitive than others. And it really does vary though. There's almost 1,000 seats this year for programs. Typically, it ranges per year on how many students participate on a Elon Global Education Center winter term program, but around 750, 800 or so. So there's always going to be a good number of seats left for students who are interested in and going on a program.
Great. And kind of on the same wait list type mind frame, should students register for multiple prep courses in case they get waitlisted for their number one choice?
And it's a great question. We actually do have enrollment limits. So this means that students can register for one program and waitlist one program max. And it sounds a little bit restrictive, but I guarantee this is the best way for us to make sure that students have the most access to winter term programs and to courses. In the past, we've had it possible where students could waitlist multiple programs, and students don't always necessarily think about how that's impacting the whole group of students who are enrolling. So we've done this so that students can kind of be as intentional as possible with what programs they want to participate in, and also so that those waitlists process as quickly as possible. So they aren't bulked up by students who are waitlisting 5 programs or so. So we know that the waitlist for one program is the true waitlist for that one specific program. So register one course max, waitlist one course max.
Great. That was very clear. Hopefully that answers that question. We don't have any other questions in the chat as of right now. If you do have more, feel free to pop them in that Q&A chat, and we will get to them. We still have a little bit here. In the meantime, I will share a quick personal aside that I'm an alum of Elon, and I got to take advantage of several short-term study away programs, and they were such highlights of my experience as an Elon student. So this is definitely something near and dear to my heart, and I hope that your students can take advantage of this experiential learning opportunity as well. Um,
Yeah, same here, Robin. I've been very blessed and fortunate to participate in a lot of different programmings through Elon and my time in grad school and afterwards. But there's something really special about short-term programs and the winter term model specifically that I really advocate for people to think about, because sometimes a semester, which is very popular and very common for Elon students to participate in, can seem a little bit daunting. And it's a very different experience for students who want to go to a different university, or they want to take classes with other fellow students abroad for a full semester. That's definitely a path that we can set them on. But for ones who want to do something a little bit more structured with Elon students, with Elon faculty, it's a great option. Mhm.
Agreed. Agreed completely. All right, we have a few more questions that came in. All right, let's see. A good clarification here. Are there winter courses that you have to be accepted for, or are all available to just register for?
There are a small few that are. specific programs for specific majors. So off the top of my head, there's a nursing program that's going to be going to the Dominican Republic this year. That is major specific. So we do actually list it as permission of instructor. These are all noted on the website, which programs are permission of instructor. And I believe there's about two or three that are such. Another includes human service studies, and we don't have public health studies this year, but it's usually going to be a specific practicum.
Yes.
And a student in that specific major would know whether or not that applies to them. So otherwise, the programs themselves in general are meant to be fairly flexible and open to students at most years and ranges. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Also, I'll just mention there are some fellowship programs as well. We have our fellows that travel to some destinations at times, and so would be another example of that kind of program. Um, all right. Will my seminar be exactly my peers on the trip, or will there be students in the seminar that are not traveling on the trip?
It is just the students who are traveling on the program. So there are no additional students registering for that preparatory seminar. And then the program in general in January also is just the students from that seminar. So you'll be with those set of 20 to 30 students throughout the fall and throughout January. There's no outside students coming into that fold. So
Yeah.
that gives you the opportunity to really get to know the folks in your class and sort of develop a special sort of relationship with them.
And to speak on that a little bit, you definitely do find a special relationship with the students that are on your specific program because you do get this class together in the fall and then the experience of traveling together, which is really lovely. I can answer this question. So someone asked, is there any chance that there's a recording of the November Study Away webinar? We did have a session on study abroad in November, and yes, that recording is available. So any of the webinar sessions, in case you want to go back to them or refer to them, just go to a specific section that we were talking about something. They're all posted on our Office of Parent Engagement website, and that is an Elon hosted website, as well as our YouTube channel. So you can just find Elon Parents YouTube. And in addition, since you registered for this session, I will be sending out an email afterwards, just a thank you for being here and also a link to that recording as well. So you should get that before the end of today. And if you do not for any reason, feel free to reach out to me and I would be happy to get you to the right place because these are great opportunities to have the information recorded that you can look back to. So thank you for asking that. And we are again at an empty inbox of questions. So I hope that we have been answering your questions along the way. Because I'm not seeing any others right now, I will keep my eye on it in case they pop in. But Gia has, as you can see, shown the contact information for the GEC. Gia, if anyone here has additional questions, what's the best way to get to the GEC?
Yeah, I would definitely suggest shooting us an email. I also really recommend having your student engage with our office as well. So we have been advising students throughout these past few weeks. They're more than welcome to reach out to us directly to the global email here at global@elon.edu or by phone. But so Tyler Favale and I are both available to meet with students and do particular advising sessions. So we are more than happy to talk through sort of the best academic fits for students, any specific questions that they may have that aren't clearly answered on the website or on the specific program page. We know there's a lot of considerations and factors that go into making these decisions. So if they'd love to chat through things and just talk to a person, we are more than happy to meet with them.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And alternatively, if you happen to find our office to ask your question to, we will happily link you up with the GEC to help give you the information you need. So, without further ado, we have no other questions in the chat. Thank you all so much for being here today. Keep your eye out for that email of the recording of this session and feel free to reach out with any additional questions. But thank you so much to Gia, Ashley, Tyler, and Allegra for being here today and giving us some of your time. And otherwise, I hope everyone has a great rest of your Monday. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.